So, Andrea, coming back to Chicago's economy and understanding, that we have so many assets, as you mentioned, in terms of the diversity of our business sectors. But what would you suggest would be some of the bigger challenges that we had even pre-COVID? So let's talk about maybe the beginning of the year. How would you have answered the question of our biggest challenges? And then how is that changed now, kind of in the middle of COVID?
Yeah, so I'd say the two biggest questions where we get in terms of when we're talking to businesses where if there is a concern, they raise it is one, the financial stability of the city and the state. People worry about that. And the second is public safety, just generally, and those are had been, largely what's the word, perception based. But we had, of course, a very, very violent summer. We've had disruption first related to George Floyd, and then after that, a lot of disruption and looting that has caused additional concerns. And so, but what I tell, what we told people before and what we do tell people, and is still true today, that we are still dramatically safer than we have ever been. And we have a superintendent of police who was, by the way, at the beginning of COVID, brand new, right? I think people forget that Superintendent Brown started in April, but he has gotten his sea legs, if you will. He's leading the team. He has an incredible amount of experience in big city policing coming from Dallas. But he also understands neighborhoods and communities, and he's building tremendous relationships. And we have a lot more cases now where we're working with the community to solve crime as opposed to us versus them. And he's got a great plan and he's been keeping downtown safe, and they have a great plan in place to keep downtown safe post-election. There's a lot of concern, not just here in Chicago, but across the country for disruption. So we answered that question by saying, if you actually look at the data, we are overall much safer. And really, over the summer, violence has really reduced dramatically in the last couple of months here in Chicago. And then on the finances, obviously the city was, I think, very stable and doing pretty well. The mayor's last budget, I think, was going well, and obviously COVID has dramatically impacted that. The differential, I think not differential, but I think the point there is that all cities are struggling. So I don't think we're in any different situation than any other city. And I think that we have great leadership who's working hard to find pathways to address the challenges. It would be great if we could get some help from the federal government. I think many cities across the country are hoping that at some point we will get a relief bill. But even if we don't, we have a pathway to move forward. And I think we are, the key question when you're talking about financial insecurity is the leadership and the ability of the leadership to make decisions and get set up the policy and make the right paths.
So I want to ask questions on both fronts, but let's start with the safety issue. Okay. Particularly given your role talking to people all around the world, I know from my experience with my family and friends overseas, particularly in Ireland, I mean, you'd never guess with my name, right, that I have family in Ireland, but there is still this perception that Chicago is like the days of Al Capone. And then you take that and fast forward to this past summer, and I had family and friends calling saying, oh my gosh, are you safe? Are you safe? So how do you confront that perception when you're dealing with people overseas?
So I think what we've been doing is really just dealing with facts. I mean, perception is a problem. I mean, this summer was not helpful. Was a challenge, and we are for the perception of Chicago. And so we have work to do. And the first step is doing what the superintendent under the mayor's leadership has been doing, and that is not letting it happen again. They're very committed to making sure that not just the downtown, but our commercial corridors across the city are protected. The other thing that they have been doing is prosecuting individuals who participated in the looting. There's a task force in place. They've brought a number of cases, and they're also working with the federal government. So these cases are not just state court cases, these are federal cases. And that becomes important because it's a community, right, of people who, the looting was in many places organized crime. And it's a community of people who do that. And so they know that people are getting arrested, they're going to jail for significant periods of time. And so on both fronts, both just in terms of how you respond and being prepared to respond, but also, and so I tell people that, but it's going to take us time to fix the perception. You fix the perception by by showing that you are safe, and we are doing that. And I think also working to tell our stories in a positive way. Too often with Chicago, we haven't really focused on developing our strong brand, our innovation, our transformational history, the fact of the draw that we have for talent. And we have to continue to tell that story better to fill the gap so it doesn't get filled with people's perception of what they hear or see on the news.
Well, and then when on the finance side of the topic, we are challenges. I know that Mayor Lightfoot recently spoke about the potential of some very serious budget cuts if Washington doesn't step up. And we have lived in a climate, for decades, where many think that our underserved neighborhoods have been hit the hardest with the lack of investment. And this mayor and Mayor Emanuel, have been very committed to understanding the needs of the neighborhoods. And I know when you were the deputy mayor, you were responsible for neighborhood development. And I feel very privileged when I wear my CCAC hat, the work that we're doing with Invest Southwest. So one question that I have in terms of your work, knowing the neighborhoods and knowing the downtown, what do you think are some solutions from, helping people in the neighborhood get jobs downtown? And what transportation solutions do you think are needed in order for people to get back and forth more easily without needing to take, walk, buses, trains, hours of trying to get to a minimum paying job?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple answers to that. The first and foremost is skills development. One of the challenges that we have as a city is that, and we're not alone, is that the jobs, the better paying jobs in particular, and middle income jobs, require some skill sets. And we we don't anymore, a school system, this would be now, close to 10 years ago, but a school system that didn't support kids. When I went on the school board in 2011, our graduation rate was in the high 50s, which means that there's not only close to 50% of people not graduating, but much higher in communities of color. That's dramatically changed now. Our graduation rate last year was 80%. When I was on this board, we had no performing schools on the south and west side. That's changed now. We have about 75% of those schools are performing. That means level 2 or 1, which means you can send your child to school and they will graduate at if they do what they're supposed to do, which they most do, they will graduate ready to go on to the next level, which was not true. We still have work to do, but it's dramatically better. They're partnering, they're requiring students to think through what your plan is after school. It doesn't have to be college, but you have to have a plan now to graduate. We have many, many more students doing dual enrollment. And we also have the STAR scholarship, where students from CPS can graduate with a B average and go to city colleges for free. And if you graduate city colleges in 2 years with a B average, we have agreements with all of our four-year institutions for scholarship reductions for those students. So you can get a 4-year degree for, in essence, cost of 1 year. So we've opened up the doors for individuals from our communities in our neighborhoods to get the skills that they need. And now what I think CPS is focused on, and city colleges and the business community is starting to work to help educate young people about what the opportunities are through internships and apprenticeships and training in the schools. And so we're doing a lot of that. The other thing that I think is happening is that we also have a lot of employers who are moving facilities into the neighborhoods. You know, Blue Cross Blue Shield just opened up a significant facility in the Morgan Park area where I live. 400 middle income and jobs. Amazon just opened up a giant facility in Pullman, and that's on top of the Whole Foods warehouse Method, also going there, and Gotham Greens not only went there, but has expanded there. So we've created all kinds of jobs in those communities. We also have an incredible public transportation system here in Chicago that is affordable and at what was rated at 97% of satisfaction. So people can get from the community, the neighborhoods to downtown if they can get jobs with the skills. And so I think it's about making sure that we're training people, providing opportunities for training, and that employers and they're more and more are looking into the neighborhoods to hire.
That's excellent. Andrea, we have a question from an audience member, and it reads, do you provide any export assistance?
Which is a great question. We, WBC does not, but we have partners we can refer you to. We did have a program that we, what's the word I want, incubated here called the Chicago Regional Growth Corporation. That was a regionally focused program organization, and they had a program that was focused on helping companies expand their export opportunities. That organization, however, is no longer operating, and they're not operating the export program. So we are not, but we can refer you to people who do.
Excellent. So I see that we're down to our last minute. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to make sure that the audience knows about the work that you're doing or how they can be involved?
I'd say the main thing I want people to know is that we do have a plan. The city has a plan that came out of the task force report in July that we're implementing. And it is not just a plan. We've got 4 sectors that we're primarily focused on that I touched on, but we're also working at how we're developing the neighborhoods. We're also thinking about workforce strategies. And it is not only is there a plan, but it's a plan focused on addressing inequities. And that becomes really important because we all ultimately pay for the cost of those inequities, right? There's the MPC did a report a while ago on the cost of segregation. There's going to be a seminar at the Executives Club, I think next week, on the costs of segregation, and they are high, and we all pay them. And so it behooves us to be thinking about how we address them, and we're doing that in the city. I have been, and I remain very bullish about Chicago and our potential to not only continue to lead as a global city, but really become the leading global city.
Well, Andrea, Chicago is lucky to have you. And I am very grateful that you joined us today. It's been a very insightful conversation. I look forward to seeing you virtually on November 6th. I encourage all of our audience to sign up and get your free ticket and not miss this event. And hopefully we can all be together at this event next year in 2021.
Terrific. Thank you. Nice to see you, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And to my audience, I know that you have a lot of choices in terms of ways to spend your time. And I'm very grateful that you decided to join us today for this webinar. And again, I encourage you to mark your calendar for the mornings between November 16th and the 20th. Take a look at the alliancerd.org website for a list of our confirmed speakers and watch your email for a registration link from the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. Look forward to seeing everybody again very soon. Wish everyone to stay well, stay strong, and see everybody soon. Andrea, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.